What's up, YouTube? This is Make Things to Break Things Outdoors, and today we're indoors because I'm going to make a really quick video on how to put a convex edge on almost any knife. Now, disclaimer, with this method you're not going to be able to sharpen super steels. I know, it sucks, but with the way that I'm about to do this, super steels are just too hard, especially steels like Magna Cut and Crew Wear and steels along those lines. This just ain't gonna work for you unless you have all the time in the world to make it work. But without further ado, this is the cheapest and easiest way to put a convex on almost, and I say almost, any knife. So the first thing that we're gonna need to make this happen is sandpaper. All of the sandpaper. And we're going to use 400 through 2500 grit today. So we're going to start with 400. We're going to move into 600. Then we'll go to 1500, 2000, and 2500. Then once we come from those grits, the next thing we're going to do, and this is for people without a strop. If you have a strop, you can skip this step. But we're going to use a piece of denim, like this, just an old pair of pants, and some metal polish. It doesn't have to be this metal polish. It can be like Mother's metal polish. But any metal polish will pretty much work, as long as it's got grit to it. So, in order to make a convex, and this is probably the most important part to making the convex, you're going to need a sanding block. This is the secret. You want a sanding block that's foam, that's got some squish to it, and the only real skill this is going to take to get a convex edge on a knife is pressure control. And if you can get the pressure control down, you'll be able to do this no problem. So, we're going to take our paper clip, like you would get at Staples, the big one. I cut a slit into the edge of my sanding block just so this clip would go there and I could clip my sandpaper to one end. We'll take our 400 grit sandpaper, if I can grab the 400 grit sandpaper, and we'll clip it right into our foam block. And now you want to make sure that your sandpaper is almost exactly even with the edge of this block. That way you don't have any overhang that's scratching your handle and you're not rubbing your knife against something that's actually not going to cut steel. So you want it to be almost perfectly even. Now, with this, I'm going to be sharpening this K-Bar BK18. And the main reason that I'm going to be sharpening this one in particular is because this one's a knockoff and it's made out of really cheap steel. And a little bit of story behind this knife. I actually bought this knife at a surplus store for full price. The whole $120-ish that it was worth. And it is a cheap stainless steel knockoff with no heat treatment whatsoever of the real thing. Now, what I did not pay full price for was the real thing, but by the time I put the Lucas Carroll handle scales on it, sorry, I got the hiccups a little bit. By the time I put the Lucas Carroll handle scales on it, I probably ended up paying full price for this one, but I bought this one used and I took the coating off of it and polished it up a little bit. But this one does actually have the secondary convex, and you can see that it's got almost a mirror polish. You can kind of see the reflection of my fingernails in the edge. You can kind of see it on the blade too. But now this one is sharpened to 17 degrees on a 300 grit stone because I already had a convex on it too, and I had to make it back into a V edge. But not really much reflection going on off of 300 grit. And to make a note, this also works on scandivexes. So if you want to turn a scandi grind into a scandivex, you can see that I've got an almost perfect mirror scandivex on my BPS Adventure, which I did a video on a couple weeks ago if you want to check that out. So, yeah, like I said, this works on fixed blade knives, pocket knives, as long as they're not a super steel. If you've got like 7CR, 8CR stainless steel, it'll work. If you've got high carbon simple steels like 1066, 1095, it'll work. If you've got something like DC53 or D2, or even, you know, higher quality super steels than that, or some tool steels like these two, you ain't gonna do it. It's gonna take you forever. So just keep in mind that you want to stay with like 1095 Crovan, 7 CRs and stuff like that. More budget friendly steels this'll work great with. Higher quality steels, harder steels, you're gonna need diamond to do it, and it takes a little bit more skill to do it that way. So I think I'm having a stroke today. I can't say words. Anyway, so let's get into it. So I'm gonna take my 400 grit sandpaper. Like I said, we got it even, we got it clamped down. I'm gonna take and pull a little bit of tension on it with my thumb. Not enough that I can pull it out of the clip, but enough to keep it tight. I'm gonna take my knife, I'm gonna lay it flat. And the reason I'm standing up to do this right now is so you can see. I'm gonna lay my knife flat and I'm gonna turn it up until I see the gap between my apex and the sandpaper disappear. There's no gap coming through there. So normally I would do this in a vise, but I'm pretending that I'm you at home that's on a budget and you don't have all of the fancy tools to make stuff happen, and all you got is a sanding block and some sandpaper and a paper clip. So I'm gonna do it the way that you would do it at home. But if you do have a vise at home, I usually clamp this in a vise, that way I don't have to sit here and hold it the whole time. But if you lay it on a table, it's about the same thing. So we're not going to do forward passes. We're only going to do edge trailing passes. And the reason for that is you'll cut your sandpaper once your edge starts getting sharp. So lay it flat, bring it up till our edge angle disappears, come to the point, and we'll make edge trailing passes. Same thing in the other direction. We're going to alternate. Lay it flat, bring it up till our edge angle disappears, and bring it back to you. And once you get, you know, a couple of passes where you figured out your angle, you can kind of just rock with it and just kind of keep that angle. Now with this method, a little bit of wobble in your angle control is not going to be any killer, because we're actually bringing the edge up and over. So we're actually bringing it to a higher angle, which is a steeper angle, and we're bringing the upper part of the bevel to a lower angle, which is a higher angle. So instead of being a 20-degree angle or 17-degree angle, it'll be maybe 20 here and 11 up here. It'll be rounded, like an acorn shape almost. And that's what we're going for to make a convex. So I'll just do my edge trailing passes, and I'll count 20 passes or so. That way there's 10 on each side, and I'll check my scratch pattern to see how it's transferred over from 300 grit to 400 grit, which I sharpened it back to a V edge on this, which is 300 grit. So I'm watching my scratch pattern to see where it moves up, where it folds over, and how much of a flat spot I have down the middle. And I'm trying to get rid of that flat spot down the middle of both of my bevels. And that's how you'll know you'll have your convex. So pushing down into the sandpaper, and just, now we're not pushing so hard that we can, you know, just smash the knife through it. We're just smashing it hard enough that that edge is actually angling the sandpaper up around the bevel. And that's how we'll get our shape of the convex, not necessarily the sharpness. And we'll get into that later. But yeah, I'm on my 400 grit. I need to move some stuff out of the way. So we'll come into our about 20 passes now. I didn't count because I'm rambling. But I look under my light And I'll notice that I've brought the edge up to a lower angle, and I've brought the apex down to a higher angle, but I still have a flat spot through the middle, so I'll do about 10 more passes on my lowest grit sandpaper. Now when we get to the higher grits of sandpaper is when things start going fast, because then all we're doing is polishing that convex. And you don't necessarily have to polish your convex, because it's not going to be any less sharp if it's not polished. I just know that a lot of people like a polished edge, and I'm going to show you how to get one. I'm trying to do this fast so I can make the video, you know, a watchable length. That, and I've done this so much till I don't really have to kind of guess where my angle is, and everybody will get there. But now you can see how tall that angle's standing. And I actually want to look in the camera myself for a second so you can see. So you can see now that my scratch pattern, I hope you can see. Well, I'm out of focus. Focus. Come on, camera, focus. Anyway, my camera won't focus, so you'll just have to believe me. But you can kind of see in the reflection now that it's rolled. It's not flat anymore, that it's rolled. I don't have a flat spot down the middle. And on this side, I got a little bit of a flat spot towards the back. But come on camera, but for the sake of the video, we're just gonna rock with it. But just know that you're looking to make sure that you've got this edge completely rolled. So once we've got our shape of our convex, and that we know that our edge is sharp enough to cut paper, whatever I did with my paper, I put it way over there so I have to reach for it. It should be sharp enough off of the first piece of sandpaper to cut paper. It should just go right on through, even off of 400 grit. So then we'll move to our 600 grit. And the reason that I go 400, 600, and then 1500 is because I've found that you get the best results if you don't jump more than 1,000 grit at a time. So instead of going from 400 to 1500, that would be 1100 grit of a jump. It doesn't work well. But if I go 400, 600, 1500, it's less than 1,000, and it's really easy to get all of these scratch marks from this grit out of it and go into my next scratch pattern and get it even, if that makes sense. I want only my 1500 scratch pattern after I get there, so for time's sake, not jumping over 1,000 grit makes it easier, and then I don't get all the way to the end with big scratches in my bevel. But same thing, we get on our 600 grit, same technique, same angle, making sure that we get all the way from the tip, lowering our elbow all the way through the belly, just like that. So you'll start with your arm raised, start at the tip, and then roll the belly down, just like that. Now, I do only alternating passes, that way I know that I'm getting the same amount of material removed from both sides. That way I just don't have to think about, is one bevel going to be bigger than the other. It's just, you can do the alternating passes, or you can do the repeated passes on one side so you can see if you get a burr or not. I personally don't. I notice, like with a lot of stainless steels like this knockoff is made out of, you don't really get a burr anyway. So you do you. If you want to do, count 5 passes this way and 5 passes this way to see if you get a burr, you can. I just don't want to for this video because I'm not going to get a burr on this steel anyway. But this is what I'm talking about. When we start getting into the higher grits, things start getting a little bit faster because now we're just refining the scratch pattern. So I can make about 10 or 20 passes here. Check my scratch pattern. Make sure that it's even and I don't have any real deep scratches left behind. And that my bevels are even. Which they're not because I'm doing this fast for YouTube. But they're pretty close. So if you want to be a little bit more OCD about it, you can. I'm just not going to. I'm just here to teach you how to do it. So now my 600 grits over with. I've got almost completely even scratch pattern down both sides. So I'm going to move to my next grit, which is 1500. Same thing, just wash, rinse, and repeat at this point. We go to 1500, we make 10 or 20 passes and check it. There's 10 passes. I've still got a little bit of 600 grit scratches going on. So make about 10 more passes. There's 10. I check it. Make it 10 more passes and that should be good. And now it's at this point when we get to the 1500 where I would normally stop because that is almost a mirror by itself. And you can see, like, you can use the reflections of light from around you to see that if it's convex or if it has flat points. So see, like when I roll it past the light there, you can see that it's like a smooth transition of where that reflection runs back and forth across the edge. Now, if it's got like any reflections, like where you see it kind of, you know, like dips or angles in the reflection where it changes, then you're not quite at a true secondary convex yet. So let me take a little bit more. Now, I do want to note that when you're doing this kind of sharpening, you'll start feeling, like when you first start especially, like if you're not somebody that sharpens knives all the time, you'll start feeling a little bit of cramping going on, like in your forearm and maybe in your thumb, because you're pushing down so much harder than you normally would sharpening. Not a lot harder, just a little bit harder. So just don't strain yourself too much when you're doing this, and just be aware that it might cause a little bit of a strain on you. Like I said, I do it all the time, so it's not too bad. But if you're an avid knife sharpener, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like just the hand cramps from the back and forth. So now we'll move to 2000. Before I move to 2000, I'll take my piece of paper again just to make sure that I haven't rolled the edge over too far. I messed up. That was my fault. No, we're still sharp. I'm trying to do this video in one take because I want to make it as quick and to the point as possible. And 10 passes. Get it under my light. I'll check it again. My scratch pattern is almost perfect that quick. And like I said, guys, this is a really soft steel. Like, this is a knockoff. I don't even think it's heat treated at all. Like, whoever in China makes these fake K-bars, they don't heat treat these. So don't buy these and don't get tricked like I did. But yeah, so now I'm going to my 2500 grit. This will be the last grit that I go to, and basically this is almost like stropping. So I'll still keep my same angle. I'll bring it down, make about 10 or 20 passes. There's 20. Then again, don't feel like you have to go as fast as I do. I just do it so much that I'm used to it. Like if you're a beginner and you're wanting to do this the first time, take your time. Like, actually enjoy it, because usually I do this watching TV and I'm not in any hurry. I just want you guys to get the point really fast. But like, look, man, this thing right here off of that 25, I've almost got a perfect mirror that quick. Perfect mirror secondary convex almost. And now, so if you remember earlier in the video, I mentioned the denim and the metal polish. Hi YouTube, there's my face and my messed up hair. So what I do is I take my piece of denim, and this is for those who don't have a strop. If you have a strop, then don't worry about this part. You can go ahead and this is the end of the video, and I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. But if you don't have a strop and you want to check out how you can make your own strop at home when you don't have leather and you have a pair of pants, you can do it like this if you're already have everything else. So I'm going to take some of this metal polish that I shook up earlier, and I'm going to put it down on my denim, and then I'll just kind of smear it in there with my fingers, because I didn't bring anything to smear it in with. And I'll just get it kind of coated over my denim real good. I'll pull tension back on my denim just like I do with the sandpaper, and I'll kind of fold it under, that way I don't have to hold it so tight. And then I'll just use my knife to kind of spread it around. My point's catching on that wrinkle right there. You'll have that sometimes. But yeah, just do the same as you did with the sandpaper with your metal polish on your denim. And honestly, with this step, you can make too many passes. Like, I wouldn't make more than 30, because at this point, you'll just roll. You'll just kind of roll your apex over. But yeah, so once you get past this step, put that out of the way. I'm gonna use my t-shirt to wipe it off. My girlfriend will be happy about that. Wipe it off, and I mean, just look at that reflection, man. That's almost a mirror. That quick. And I think this minute is what, 24 minutes long at this point. So in 30 minutes, you can have a mirror secondary convex on a cheap knife. Now with a harder steel, it might take longer the first time, but once you get your convex, like sharpening it back takes almost no time. But I mean, just screaming sharp. I've got a little bit of a chip right there that I didn't sharpen through, but it'll be okay. And now, so yeah, this thing's just screaming sharp, but I don't have any arm hair. I was going to try to, my arm hair still hasn't grown back. Oh well. But now, if to maintain your convex let's say you want to do a little bit of touch-up work, like I came across this stone and I dulled it out to where now it won't cut nothing. And that's the testament to fake K-bar edge retention. I can take like a ceramic, like on my little work sharp little porta sharpener here, come on my ceramic at about 25 degrees or wherever, hit it 1 or 2 times, and don't worry about this messing up the convex because you'll sand it back later. But this is for just like out in the field touch-up work. Hit it on that strop a couple times, and then just screaming sharp that quick. But that's how you put a convex on basically anything other than knives with super steels. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for checking out Make Things to Break Things Outdoors. I'm Jason Spade, and I'll see you next time. Peace.